What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another edition of Green with Envy here on the 617 podcast, proudly brought to you by Crowworthy, coming to you from a Celtics 2-0 lead over the Brooklyn Nets. This is your boy Will Weir. How you doing? How you living? Hopefully fantastic after that win. Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only, the stylish, the Southwestern dapper stylish Greg Manakis. What's going on?
Do not come in here. What's good, baby? What's good? I'm feeling so good. That's a reference to our guy, Gary Bertier from Remember the Titans. We just had the most unbelievable experience watching game 2 of the Boston Celtics Brooklyn Nets on this new website called Playback. You may have heard of it because Nekias Duncan and the Dunker Spot have done some stuff. Sam Ez, I can't pronounce his last name, has done some stuff for the Warriors. They got other big names, and they got
Jonathan Macri, Nick's
Jonathan
Film School's been out
Macri.
there. The Timeline guys for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know if he's done it yet, but KOC is probably gonna be do something on there. So basically, what we're gonna be doing. So we did a dry run tonight. Fucking excellent time to do it. Unbelievable game. Second half turnaround. We're gonna talk all about that here in just a minute. But on Saturday, it's gonna be our official launch with Playback. So we're gonna start promoting. It's just a link. All y'all got to do is go sign up. You got to add in whatever streaming service you use to watch the games on. And essentially what we're doing is we're creating a virtual watch party hosted by your boys who may have some guests that are coming in. We haven't officially got those lined up yet, but we may have some guests that are coming through. But think a combination of Twitch and Twitter Spaces with a way better stream and interactive chat where you can come hang out with your guys, watch the game. It's going to be on the road. So we figured this is a great time where we can build the Celtics community, bring everybody in with us, and let's kick it. It's Saturday night. I'll grab a beer. Greg will grab maybe some whiskey. We'll come kick it with us, and let's see if the Celtics can take this up 3-0, because the only way you get to 3-0 is you got to get to 2-0 first, and that's where we are right now.
Yo, shout out to our guy Craig for Missing the Point. If you haven't checked out the Missing the Point episodes in the 617 feed, make sure you do. They had a great episode with Jared Weiss, who was a previous guest that we had on the pod as well. If you did not check out our episode with Amina Smith, we interviewed her yesterday, like absolute gold, the curator of vibes. Honestly, like I went back and listened to that episode. I don't understand how anyone could listen to that and be like, this isn't one of the best podcasts out there. And like, if you listen to that episode, you listen to this episode, how could you not want to join us on Playback? If you talk to anybody that came through to the Playback room tonight, I know it sounds like we're hyping it up, but it was so much fun. Like, honestly, one of the best experiences I've had watching a basketball game and a sporting event. Like, it doesn't beat being in the stadium. Nothing will ever beat being in the stadium.
If you're going to the game, go to the game. We understand. But if you're not, come join us.
It's literally maybe even as enjoyable as sitting around and watching a game with your buddies. It's pretty close. Because
and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to replicate that with everybody and make it an even larger community. So the chat will be up and popping. We'll be answering questions. We'll be bringing people on stage. Like I said, we're working on getting some special guests that are going to come by. And, this isn't just for Saturday. This is something that we're going to be doing, repeatedly as the Celtics, as it looks like right now, are on the precipice of what could be a deep playoff run. So the deeper the Celtics go, the more of these virtual watch parties through Playback that we're going to host, the more that we're going to have opportunities to bring everybody together. So it's a very fucking cool time to be a Celtic fan, to be listening to Green with Envy, to be hanging out with y'all. It's the vibes are immaculate, from Amina to here to the Celtics in the TD Garden. The vibes are very, very immaculate, right?
The vibes are immaculate. The fit is immaculate. Your boys are immaculate. We're feeling great, if you can't tell. Boston Celtics up 2-0. My man Will, are you ready to give the people a morning box score?
Let's do it. I'm kind of winging this one because we've been on all night. So
we've been on all night, man.
It's been a long one. So we've been going at this hard since about 15 minutes before tip off tonight, all the way through. But we said we were going to do a podcast after the game. We're up 2-0. We can't not do a podcast after this. We got to still hit it.
Bro, if we had lost this game, I probably would have talked you out of doing this pod.
I still would have tried to convince you to do it, but honestly, because my back's a little sore, I probably would have ended up being like, all right, you're right. We'll just do it later. But That's not the fucking case. Here's the case. Morning box score. Let's crank it up here. Celtics win 114-107. Let's start over with those Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant somehow ended up with 27 points, which I think in a weird way speaks to a level of his greatness, but also we're going to talk about the Celtics defense on him because I don't think I haven't seen Kevin Durant
Well,
frustrated in the way that he has been, but Kevin Durant still ends up with 27 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, only 4 of 17 shooting, 20 free throws, which a lot of those came in the bonus. I think that just answered my own question about where a lot of those points come from. Hometown boy, Bruce Brown. We talked about him with Amina Smith on our last podcast. He got the living shit boot out of him in game 1. He bounced back with a very strong 23 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 of 12 from him. Old friend and old enemy Kyrie Irving, 4 of 13 from the field for him, only 10 points after his masterpiece of 39 points, did have 8 rebounds to go along with it. Seth Curry had 16 points, 4 made threes. Goran Dragic, a big first half, a little bit quieter in the second half, still finished with 18 points, but not enough. As I mentioned, Celtics win 114-107. So let's see what the Celtics did tonight. Jason Tatum, big fourth quarter down the stretch, especially those last couple of buckets. Finished with 19 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 5 of 16 shooting. Al Horford, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from deep. He had 16 points to go along with 6 rebounds. Daniel Tice, 7 of 9 from the field with 15 points. Jaylen Brown just absolutely on fire to start that fourth quarter, 22 points. He was 9 of 18 from the field. Defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, 12 points and 5 assists. And of course, we really got to talk about Grant for a little bit after this, man. Maybe the best player from start to finish throughout the night, Grant Williams, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 of 4 from the field, 3 of 3 from downtown, 6 of 6 from the line. And who the hell would have thought we'd ever say that last sentence about Grant Williams a year ago?
yo,
What a world we are living in.
Can you repeat his shooting stats?
Grant Williams, talking about immaculate. Grant Williams, 4 of 4 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, 6 of 6 from the free throw line to go along with 6 rebounds, 17 points, and some great defense. Let's not sleep on Grant Williams' defense either.
So are you telling me Grant Williams did not miss a shot in tonight's game from anywhere in the field?
That is correct.
Fuck a 50-40-90 club. The 100-100-100 club. 100 times 100 times 100. Shout out to our boy, Professor Lyrical, mathematical genius, who came through to the watch party on playback, who was just spitting mathematical facts the whole time. He joined us on stage. Even he would be impressed with these numbers. Holy shit. Grant Williams, Mr. Corner Office. Let's fucking go, my guy. I can't even say enough about Grant Williams right now. He played well. I went back and rewatched game 1. I thought he actually played really well. I don't know if his numbers really showed how much of an impact he actually had on the game. I didn't go look at the box score again from game 1. I just rewatched it just to kind of get a feel for how everybody played. And I liked the way that Grant played in game 1. I love the way he D'd up Kevin Durant. You and I always talk about how he's like a really more modern, more skilled version of what PJ Tucker is. You know, PJ Tucker, who couldn't make it in the league for a little bit and then came back in as like a small ball 5 type of guy. Grant Williams, man, he is becoming a really, really important part of this team, especially against guys like Kevin Durant, and the fact that he can guard. I mean, Grant Williams can guard 2 through 5. He can't guard 1 through 5 right now. He's not great on point guards. He's not bad on point guards, not great on point guards. He can guard 2 through 5 pretty serviceably. Probably more 3 through 5 front court stuff. I'm loving everything I'm seeing out of Grant Williams. And the fact that he was able to rediscover his stroke tonight after just being out of the game for a while from downtown. I don't know what was going on. If it was just regression to the mean, not the progression to the mean, as our guy Grandy says. But Grant, my guy, you are deserving of the Batman nickname tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were given a Tommy Award, I'd probably have to go with Grant Williams. The way that he was banging bodies down there, he was, there was even one play. I don't know if it was in the third or fourth quarter where he contested a Kyrie layup, complete law of verticality, went straight up, and Kyrie made the bucket. But the contest from Grant was right there, and it was just reminiscent of what he had been doing all of game 1 and all of game 2 on that defensive end, just being in the right spot at the right time. I need to look this up, and maybe we'll have this for the next time that we come on here. But I mean, I can already think just in my mind of at least 3 to 4 possessions of him getting a hand on Kevin Durant dribbling the basketball one-on-one versus him, just deflections that Grant Williams getting in those moments. And, like this game, this was a real tough game. I don't know. I just saw a clip before we came on here of Al Horford talking in the locker room, and it's just Al being the man, where he talks about, we knew they were gonna give us a blow. We had to absorb their blow. We did that. We protected home court. We did what we had to do tonight. And when that blow was coming in that first half, and your two stars weren't really off to the greatest of starts, Grant was one of the main guys that really kept that level. Him, Al, and Tice. I mean, honestly, that front line, which was probably one of the bigger concerns with the injury to Rob, that would probably be the one area where you're like, man, I'm a little worried just because we lost a guy that's going to end up on the all defensive team. And those three guys were the ones that carried this team through the first half so that we could get to the fourth quarter that we had, where Jaylen Brown goes on basically a 10-0 run to start the fourth. And Jason Tatum does what he does down the stretch, where he puts his superstar stamp on the game, where he's like, this game is fucking over. I'm going to put this one to bed. And that's all made possible by the play of that front line. And Grant Williams is the biggest part of it.
I agree, 100%. Let's transition. This pod isn't going to be super long. I got to talk about my guy Ime. Okay, we were talking. We were talking about this throughout the pod, and we made several references to Ime's willingness to make changes according to how the game is flowing. And we said early in the year, if you go back and listen to any of the pods that we had, or every other pod that we had, because the other ones were always good, we always said about Ime, we said we didn't understand why he was so stubborn in his lineups at the end of games. It was like, it's very obvious that we don't need to have Dennis Schroeder running point and all-stars to your respective corners. I think that was one of our episode titles back in the day.
Everybody clear out. All-stars to your corners. Dennis Schroeder has the lane.
ISO Dennis. It was ISO Dennis, quotation marks, dash Dennis.
Yeah.
That was the episode name. And now you see Ime riding Peyton Pritchard in the fourth quarter, recognizing that the double big lineup for this game wasn't as effective as it's been in the past. So he decides, you know what? Dragic is killing us. The guards are killing us. We're not going to go double big. We're going to go with our guy, Peyton Pritchard, and we're going to put him in at point guard and let like the offense find another way to win the game besides just burying them on the offensive boards. Whoa, as I'm talking, can you pull up the offensive rebounding numbers for the Celtics tonight?
Yeah, I got you here. They had 7 offensive rebounds tonight.
Okay, so half the amount of offensive rebounds. How many defensive rebounds did the Nets have tonight?
27.
Okay, so game one, it was 24-14. Nets had 24 defensive rebounds. Celtics had 14 offensive rebounds. Tonight, 27 defensive rebounds to 7 offensive rebounds. The Celtics had to find another way to win this game, and they did it through the defense. Fourth quarter numbers were ridiculous, the way they shut them down. Will, you can tell us how many points the Nets scored in the fourth quarter.
It's 29-17 was the score. So 29-17 in the fourth quarter, 59-42 in the second half.
Crazy. And Ime down the stretch going offense, defense. If you actually were tuned into the playback, you heard us say, I said it was about 4.5 minutes or 5.5 minutes left. There was a dead ball. Pritchard had just made a really big impact on the offensive end. And I said, it's Marcus time. And there's 10 seconds of dead ball. Marcus at the scoring table. He comes in for Pritchard. And that's not the end of Pritchard, because Pritchard was on that.
He came back.
We didn't talk about this during the playback, but he was on the court again. There was another sub made. Ime continued to go offense, defense. Shout out to Ime Udoka. We talked about how progression is not always linear. My guy, you have just busted through the graph. You are not even on the graph anymore. You are NBA Coach of the Year type shit. Shout out to you, my guy. Nia Long is proud of you.
No longer is he just Mr. Nia Long. But that reminds me, just as we're talking about, like, harkening back to this team and the evolution of this team, and specific example, I'm trying to remember what game it was, but I know we came on here and we talked about, Ime put in, like, I think it was Josh Richardson at the time, and it was like a very, very obvious situation to put Josh Richardson in. But at the time, we had to come on here and be like, hey, he did it. But at the end, I think we were like, it was like, I think anyone could have made that call, but he just did it because up until that point, it had been something that even when it seemed painfully obvious to go with some form of an offensive or defensive substitution, he was reluctant for whatever reason to kind of stick to the script that he had built out. But to see the way that he's managing this team now and the way that he is strategically building his lineups, riding with the guys that he has confidence in, and the fact that it's Peyton Pritchard. I mean, we went through this before the playoffs started. He had 15 DNPs this year. Like there were moments where he
Crazy.
wasn't
Yeah.
getting into the game, or if he was, and there's a handful of times where he was getting in for 3 minutes when the game was out of hand one way or the other. So it's basically a DNP for a guy that you can now put out there in the closing minutes of a playoff game. Like
Wild.
it's wild to think of the transformation that this team and specifically Ime Udoka as the head coach has gone through. And it's a giant testament to him and the culture that he's built. And then to him to, at some point, I don't know how it went down. I don't have the inside sources for it, but there had to be a moment where he kind of looked in the mirror or maybe had a conversation with Brad or one of the other coaches and bought into being a little bit more flexible along with the culture building, along with the defensive tone setting. And those things emerging together have put together something very, very special with this team. And this team just they're just on a different they're on this other level that's going to be, I think, really hard for the Nets to win 4 out of 5 games for them to come and get this series. So winning this game tonight, I think the Nets are going to get something when they go to Brooklyn, whether they split or they even if they get 2, but them taking 4 out of 5, that feels highly unrealistic. Ben Simmons or no Ben Simmons, whatever they're going to do with their team, that feels really unrealistic. So it's a big, big win tonight.
Yeah. Where is Kessler Edwards tonight, man? He played like one stint in the first half. But anyway,
it's the same thing he did the other night. We played like 3 minutes and then they just kicked him back out of the game.
I feel like he'd make a difference. But I want to give a quick shout because this pod's going to be short. I want to give a quick shout to all the people that joined us in playback tonight. Bill Pullen. We had my mom. Shout out to my mom. We had my brother. Shout out to my brother. Professor Lyrical. My cousin Josh Moy. We had Professor Lyrical coming through again. Craig from Missing the Point. Shout out to you for coming through. James Burke, a.k.a. Bizark. Thank you for coming through. My big sister, Stephanie Menakis. Thank you for coming through. We had Blade, a.k.a. Ben Spicer, who's been on the pod before. Thank you for coming through. We had Justin Gucher coming through. Thank you. Esam. I don't know do you know who Esam is?
I do not.
Okay, well, Esam, thank you for coming through. Our guy, Brett Hazard, the guy who helped me develop the draft class belt idea. Shout out to you, Brett, for sticking through and watching the whole game with us. Our guy, Ryan, from the Celtics Legend Chat, hopped on stage at one point. Our guy, David Calixte, played high school football with me, the absolute man. Congratulations on your baby child. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but I know you're a daddy these days. Shout out to Domzo for coming through. Shout out to my auntie Mary for coming through. Shout out to TJ Taylor Simpson for coming through, hopping on stage and shooting the shit with us. And shout out to David Price, my guy from Black Sheep Optimist. Thank you for coming through. We cannot wait to add to the community of playback members that we have. We are so excited to be able to watch these games with y'all. We are so excited to have y'all listen to our podcast here on the 617, proudly presented by Crowworthy. We are green with envy, Will. What the fuck is up?
That was a hell of a roll call right there. Lorena actually came through for a little bit too. I honestly didn't even notice because we were wrapped into it. But yeah, it was really cool to see everyone that rolled through. We're excited to build that community. We're excited to just have another way to interact with everybody. So, I mean, Celtics up 2-0. We're running it back on playback. Going to be for game 3. And yeah, we're gonna share that link. So if y'all want to join, come in, hop in. We'll have some fun. Celtics up 2-0. That game is at 7:30 on Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 for you boys out here in the Central Time Zone. I don't really have much else to add, man. So
let's tell the people how they can join us, though. So, like, if you're listening to the pod right now, you're either a fan of us, you're a fan of Boston Diehards, you're a fan of Missing the Point, or you're a fan of Crowworthy and 617. Okay. So if you want to come join the game with us on Saturday on Twitter, we're going to put it in our bio, or we'll put it in our Twitter bio, the link to join us right now. I think in our Twitter bio at Green Envy Pod, we have our link tree. So let's, for the next couple days, let's get rid of that link tree and let's just put the direct link to the room on playback. Y'all come join us. I promise you, if you come through to the game, you will enjoy it. Everybody hit us up afterwards and like, yo, that was so much fun. It until you're there, you're not going to understand what it's like. So you just got to come join us. It's going to be a really good time. You just need to make sure you have some sort of login, like cable subscription or YouTube TV, however you normally watch games, and you'll be able to watch the game. We all experience it at the exact same time. It's super, super fun. We cannot wait to experience it with you.
See y'all on Saturday. Deuces.
With that, Black Sheep Optimist, this one is called The Path. Peace, everybody.
Peace.